Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays. And this evening, we will be talking about the second foundational attitude of mindfulness, which is patience. And I think John Kabat-Zinn puts it so beautifully when he says, patience is a form of wisdom. It demonstrates that we understand and accept the fact that sometimes things must unfold in their own time. And so patience in the context of mindfulness is really allowing things to unfold in their own time, as challenging as that may be sometimes. But we can cultivate patience intentionally. And in doing so, we can begin to recognize that things really do unfold properly in their own time. I think there's such a beautiful metaphor for this concept of allowing things to unfold in their own time. And it's a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. So we all see the caterpillars around springtime and they're eating the leaves and then they wrap themselves up into a cocoon. But if we try to open this chrysalis before the caterpillar is ready to emerge, it will not become the beautiful butterfly that it could have been. And I really think this is such a wonderful metaphor and a good reminder of how patience can often lead to something beautiful. When we're impatient, we're often wishing things were different than they actually are, right? We're wishing that they could happen more quickly or that they'll unfold in a different manner or different fashion. And if we're impatient, it can cause us to miss the present moment. It can take us out of the present moment and start ruminating and thinking about how we wished things would unfold. And so this past week, I did some reflecting on patience. I tried to set an intention to practice patience throughout the week in preparation for leading this meditation this evening. And the first thing that I explored was patience with myself. And so I think patience can certainly be applied to oneself, right? We can often become impatient with ourselves in very small ways or in larger ways. For instance, maybe on a smaller level, we feel impatient with our bodies. Maybe our bodies aren't moving the way that we would like them to. Or maybe while we're sitting in our meditation practice, our minds are wandering, right? And they keep wandering throughout the practice. And maybe we become impatient with our minds. I've been walking a lot lately in the morning, so I figured I'd share this. And it's been really lovely. It's been so nice to get back at it. I'm trying to get back into an exercise routine, having spent some time not moving as much as I typically do. And this morning I woke up and my body was so tired. I was able to notice the impatience I was experiencing. I was hoping to wake up, get a kickstart on my day, get out there, get a good exercise walk in. And I could just sense my body, my legs were a little bit sore from the days before and I feel a little tightness in my shoulders this morning. And so I decided, okay, I can practice some patience with myself this morning. So I got out of bed, I did some gentle movements, and rather than taking, a rigorous walk, I decided to take a more peaceful stroll. And I had to invite some patience into that experience. I invited some patience into that situation. And oftentimes we can become impatient with ourselves on a much larger scale, right? Maybe we have a large goal for ourselves. And maybe it keeps going on from goal to goal. I would like to graduate college and then get a good job and then get a promotion. And this list can go on and on. In our society, we're often rushing from one thing to the next. We're going from one place to another, trying to get to the next destination. How often do we think of life as a destination rather than a journey? How often are we rushing to get from point A to point B and not allowing things to unfold in their own time? This impatience can really cause us to miss the beautiful micro moments that collectively make up our lives. So if we're able to practice patience, if we're able to be patient with ourselves, then we are better able to be present with our life. And more importantly, it really allows us to enjoy the process more. We're able to be present and have maybe a sense of enjoyment or ease rather than a sense of stress, right? And patience can cause us stress and can be somewhat uncomfortable feeling. So patience really allows us to slow down. It allows us to see the possibilities of our lives, right? If we're able to slow down, we're able to perhaps be more open-minded and see all of the different perspectives and possibilities. So another area of patience that I explored this week and that I invite you to explore is having patience with others. So sometimes having patience with others can be challenging, right? We can control ourselves, we can control our own behaviors, but we can't control other people. So sometimes friends, maybe family members, acquaintances can become a source of impatience. Another area that we can bring patience to is our world or environment, right? Our world or environment, things that we can't control, can certainly cause a source of impatience. And especially right now, right? Many of us, I think most of us, are waiting for the world to return to a greater sense of normalcy. We're waiting to be able to have group gatherings, and there's just so many things that can perhaps cause a sense of challenge and impatience. But it would be useful to potentially try to bring some patience, to invite some patience to the impatience that we're experiencing. And so now let's take a moment and begin to explore what impatience feels like for you in the body. So let's find a comfortable seat, whatever that might mean for you in the moment. And then just allow the eyes to close or soften the gaze. Taking a moment to check in with the body. And then I would like you to call to mind a moment this week in which you might have experienced some impatience. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not challenging at all and 10 being the most challenging, maybe choosing something that's a 2 or a 3. And so just calling to mind the situation in which you felt impatient, and holding this situation in the mind's eye. And begin to recall the details of the situation. Just replaying this situation in your head. And taking a moment to do that now. And what I'd like you to do now is to scan the body from the feet all the way to the crown of the head. And just notice where it is in the body that this impatience can be felt. Where is this feeling of impatience making itself known to you? Where can you feel it in the body? Maybe it's a tightness in the gut, maybe a clenching of the jaw, tension in the shoulders, furrowing of the brow. Just noticing where in your own body you can feel this impatience. And then perhaps zooming in just a little bit more closely, really bringing a circle of awareness around this particular sensation, honing in on it. And then letting this go. And gently resting the awareness on the breath now. So just staying with the natural rhythm of the breath. Really allowing the breath to unfold in its own time. No need to change it or manipulate it in any way. Just doing the best that you can to allow the breath to be as it is. Allowing the breath to rise and fall in its own time. And if you notice yourself trying to manipulate the breath in any way, deepen it, make it happen more quickly, perhaps try inviting some patience and just allowing the breath to be the breath, knowing that your body breathes all on its own without having to do anything. Riding the waves of the natural breath cycle. Just following each breath, breath by breath, and moment by moment. And if the mind has wandered off into thought, which at some point it surely will, just simply noticing that this is our human tendency. As humans, our minds will wander. But with this recognition, perhaps having patience with yourself for being human. Just coming back to the breath once again. Just allowing each inhale and each exhale to be exactly as it is. Continuing to stay with the breath. Following each breath all the way to the end. And if the mind has wandered off again, perhaps giving yourself some self-compassion, offering yourself some patience. Continuing to stay with this life-sustaining force, the breath. And now beginning to notice and observe the characteristics of the breath. Noticing, is it a long breath, a short breath, a full breath, or a shallow breath? Is it moist or dry, cool or warm? Just observing and noticing the characteristics of the breath in this moment. And then noticing now where it is within the body that the breath can be felt the most distinctly. So maybe it's in the rise and fall of the belly with each inhalation and each exhalation. Maybe it's in the expanse and deflation of the chest. Perhaps it's in the nostrils or the upper lip. And wherever it is that the breath can be felt the most prominently for you, just recognizing this and staying with the breath where it can be felt the most. And if the mind has wandered away once again, just coming back to the breath. And then notice, are you judging yourself for the mind wandering? And perhaps rather than forming a judgment, maybe inviting some kindness, maybe inviting some patience with yourself. And maybe knowing that having patience with yourself is an act of self-compassion. And now moving from the breath and resting the awareness onto sound. So I'm not searching for sounds in any way, just allowing the sounds to enter your ears as they come into your field of awareness. Just being patient for sounds to arise. And this is a good practice of patience. And just allowing sounds to unfold in their own time. Whether they're internal sounds, sounds of digestion or hunger, breath, external sounds, near or far, indoors or outdoors. Just being patient as the sounds come and they go. Even being patient with the sounds that we don't like. Perhaps your neighbor's car alarm is going off, or your landscapers have decided to show up during our meditation. Whatever it might be, just seeing if rather than acting with resistance, which is what we typically do, if instead you can invite some patience to the experience. Seeing if it's possible to invite some patience for the sounds that you don't like. Patience for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Patience for the unwanted. Continuing to stay with sound. Again, offering yourself some patience if the mind has drifted away someplace else. And I'm going to read a poem called Patience. Patience, beautiful, isn't she? Unlike anything you have ever seen. She stands tall, reigning over us. There is nothing that she cannot conquer. And in her domain is where we wander. She is above and beyond us all. And when from the great mountain height we experience a destructive fall, we crawl to her for hope. Only in the dark do we know sparks beauty. So tell me, isn't she beautiful? And then just taking a few moments to allow those words to settle if they resonate. Maybe beginning now to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Maybe turning the head from side to side, moving it ever so slightly. Just bringing some gentle movements back into the body once again. When you're ready, allowing the eyes to open if they have been closed. And I have an invitation for you all this week, purely optional. But you may have noticed from the activity that we participated in, that meditation where we explored what impatience feels like in the body, that impatience isn't such a great feeling. It can cause us stress and can feel uncomfortable in the body. And so the invitation this week is to exercise patience throughout the week, whether it be with yourself or with others or just with our surrounding environment. And so I'll give you a little example. It might be helpful. So say you're at the grocery store and the person who's checking you out is slower than you would like, and you find yourself getting impatient. Maybe think about getting impatient, right? You begin to notice this feeling of impatience. And then take a moment and notice what it feels like in the body. Notice where this impatience is felt. And then perhaps invite some patience, right? How can patience be invited into this situation? Maybe there's even an ability to soften into the space in the body where the impatience is felt. And this may be helpful in cultivating some intentional patience. And so that's your invitation for this week. And I want to thank you all for joining me on this Wellness Wednesday. It was lovely guiding this practice and exploring patience with you. And I do hope to see all of you at meditation again soon. Have a really wonderful evening. Take care of yourselves and be well. Thank you.